Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's XAUUSD webinar, Forex Trading and Live Market Analysis. That's what's coming up this evening. Just to give you a heads up, tomorrow I'm going to be giving a review of the recent Forex trading patterns that happened through the month of June. So we'll be reviewing the month of June. What can we learn from pattern structure that was forming last month? And, can that assist you with what's going on in the new month? But predominantly it's a review of last month. What could you have learnt and take it forward on your trading journey. And then on Thursday, we have more live market analysis at 7 p.m. And also, if you're new to trading, or let's say you're struggling with trading, myself and Nathan are going to be doing a webinar on what we call a quick start, Forex quick start, where we have a strategy that you can get set up with in the MT4 platform. And it's a trend following strategy, which is simply monitored on the 1 hour chart, but it's based around both the daily and the 1 hour trend, matching those up. It's very clear and concise in terms of entry points, stop loss points, and then coming up with a target. So that will be at 8 o'clock. If you're with me, you can just register for that at the webinar page already. But if you're with me at 7 p.m. on the evening, I can give you the link for that in any event. All right, so before we get into tonight's webinar, please read through the disclaimer if you're on our YouTube live stream, I should say. I cannot see the chat there, so if you want to ask me questions, just come into the webinar. I've given you the link there and join us. So everybody, please read through the disclaimer. Any questions to the webinar chat or the question and answer box? I've got both open. And while you're reading that tonight, or today, depending on where you're living, in the US, it is the 4th of July. So the market will be very slow going today. And we're already seeing that price isn't really moving anywhere too much. So you need to understand that it's just one of those holiday days where predominantly it's a quiet trading day. Of course, there's always an exception to the rule. Price can move, but I wouldn't anticipate that it's going to move too far. So probably a day not to trade and just get your level set for the rest of the week. Get your head around where price may move to, move up and down from. All right, so let's get into it. If you don't know me, then my name's Duncan Cooper. I'm a senior market strategist and trading mentor here at ACY Securities. I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading the Forex market now for more than 15 years, mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Through the week, you can connect with me on our website, get my analysis there at acy.com, go to the market news tab, or go to our ACY Securities Australia YouTube channel. And if you connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn, then you will probably get most of my content there too. And getting our analysis up to date as and when it comes out, if you register for our Telegram channel, you'll get it as soon as the analysis is created and delivered. So contact Nathan to get access to that as well. If you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates for MT4, just contact Nathan. I'll put his details in the chat now. So if you have any questions regarding what we offer here at ACY, just contact Nathan. He'll be able to help you. If you need a demo account setting up or you're interested in a live account, just contact Nathan. All right, let's get into tonight's content. First up, let's have a look at what is coming out on the news front. Obviously, we have had the Aussie cash rate decision, and there was no change there. We had a little bit of a dip, but that dip's been pulled back. So not too much of an effect on the market at all. Maybe we're still going to get some more rate rises. We will have to wait and see. Excuse me one moment. All right, so coming up, as I said just a little bit before, we have the US bank holiday. OPEC meeting tomorrow. Market could rather be quiet until we get to the FOMC meeting minutes. Will there be anything new and fresh in there to stimulate the market, or will it just be pretty much what the market is expecting? So into Thursday evening, we have the unemployment claims, ADP, non-farm employment change, and of course the US job figures coming out Friday. So moving to Friday, on the midnight, US ISM services PMI, job openings, and into the evening Canadian and US job figures. So market could still be rather quiet until we get to the job figures. It's the first big real news event after the meeting minutes for the month, and then we might just delve into next week. Just want to see where we're getting. Okay, we've got the US CPI data next Wednesday. So after the job figures, the next big one is next Wednesday's CPI data. And then on Thursday, the US core PPI data. All those two data releases there are all to do with inflation. So the market is being very much driven by job figures from the US, inflation figures, trends leading into those items. Whatever that trend is can then change because we have something unexpected coming out that the market wasn't expecting in terms of data. All right. So let's get into the charts. Of course, I would say I think it's going to be quite a quiet day. We'll start with the dollar index. Now, it is a little bit mixed from a weekly perspective. We may be putting in a higher bottom here, but we have potentially a lower top. Trading within this larger range here. Might be just leading now to more of an uptrend in terms of, well, we've had a higher bottom forming now after holding at the bottom of the range. Can we move up and continue up? Day chart trend is holding to an uptrend. It's just having a correction Friday, a bit more of a dip down to a low point yesterday, but finished positive yesterday. And I'm not anticipating this will move too much during the course of the day. But if nothing changes, we will potentially be moving further up towards maybe the top of the range. Okay, that's how it's looking at the moment, unless some new data comes out and changes things. So using that as my guide. S&P 500, even though the dollar index is a little bit buoyant, the S&P 500 stock market is definitely buoyant. So the monthly chart here, we're strong month up last month, closing above resistance on the monthly chart. Strong weekly move up, a little bit overextended, but last week's dip sat on monthly support. Whole resistance becoming support there. So it's a little bit overextended. If you want to trade the S&P 500, I would be just looking for the next dip. Draw a fib. Monitor the pullback within the fib. Can it pull back to the 62 to 79? And hold that trend for the next move up. Now, if you wanted to buy that, you should have been buying it last week. It's now getting into the profit phase of the current move up. All right, let's get into, we'll look at the euro pairs first. Put this out on Telegram today. I'm just watching this area up here, but we'll just do a top down. Some of these pairs aren't that easy to determine which way they want to go. And sometimes that's the way the market is. Sometimes trading is a lot easier to determine. Sometimes it can be mixed. Now, the monthly trend, I'm just dropping down the monthly chart here, or up to the monthly chart. We are lower top forming here to the last top, lower bottom. So potentially the monthly trend here is down. However, the weekly trend is higher top or the higher bottom forming. We could be forming a lower top, which would be the inverse of the dollar index, but we'll have to wait and see. And as we get to the day chart, we're a little bit stuck. We did form some form of head and shoulder pattern up here last week, but we couldn't really move through support. So there is the potential that we start forming some form of range here, holding at support, maybe coming up to resistance and holding and being a little bit range bound here. So it's unlikely to move out of that range today. And I'm just monitoring the upper end of the range. So if ever across last week's range, I'm just monitoring this area up here, 79% up to resistance, even last week's high. 109.46 up to 109.76, that area up there. Can we pop up into the very high area of last week? We did have this head and shoulder pattern form. left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Sometimes we can end up with two right shoulders. That's why I'm looking up in that area up there, because it may offer another opportunity to sell. Offered a nice opportunity last week up in that area to get yourself trading down. May offer another opportunity there. So I'm just watching up there this week at the moment. I don't really like to entertain trading where it's kind of in the middle of the range. So I'm just watching up here. First of all, can we get up there, and then do we start to fail? Euro dollar, sorry, euro yen, I should say. Very strong trend here. Just want to go to the monthly. Now this line here is actually a weekly level. It's in here somewhere. Go to your weekly chart and squash it and you'll find it. In fact, I am lying, it's up here. So I might actually go to the weekly chart. So at the moment, the monthly trend is up here. As I've said before, we are very much overextended in terms of the fib tool. 162 extension is extremely overextended. So I'm not buying this pair. It's too high up. I'm not seeing a trigger to sell, but really the trend is up. But I personally need to see a healthy pullback to trade with the trend. All right, so be aware of where the position is of the market there. It's at 162 extension on the monthly basis. All right, on the weekly chart, if you squash it in, we're just fractionally short of some weekly resistance over here at 158.59. In fact, yeah, we're just short that next line there. Let's go to the day chart. And we've tested and held at day support over top, and we're just holding underneath day resistance. So we're going flat sideways at the moment. Doesn't mean to say we can't continue up, but as I've been saying, we're very much overextended. There was quite a significant imbalance here on the day chart. There's an imbalance starting from here. If we're going to join them all together, there's an imbalance. Number of imbalances joined together in this area, and price often comes back to fill the imbalance, or at least it could pull back to support. That may not well change the long-term trend, but we are well overextended. So at the moment, it's very flat and sideways because the market's just in holiday mode today. If you want to trade this, I would look for a pullback to support. Keep your trades in line with the trend. Look for a pullback to support. Now, I did say last week, this is actually last week's low going up to last week's high, is watch this 62% pullback here with these 4-hour tops here. Around about the 156.60 level, you could find good support this week. But as I said, this is way overextended. I think maybe for most, it should be a patience game of waiting for a pullback, some form of correction of a little bit of magnitude. And then, we definitely have a carry trade scenario now on the yen pairs, but can we have at least a healthy correction? Do you really want to buy at the top of a very, probably like a 700 pip move this pair's had now? It's getting potentially to the end of the upward move in the short term. Euro pound. Now, we have weekly support over here and monthly support here, which has been holding. And this is in an uptrend on the daily. It is struggling at 86.36, but there's a minor bottom here. And we're sitting on the 62% level, which is a little bit more clearer here on the 4-hour range or price action. This is the daily low to high. And we're actually sitting on the 62% level. So this could be, you can see it's going sideways, but on the 4-hour chart, it's a higher bottom. This could be another 4-hour higher bottom here on the 62 once more to be trading up to retest 86.36 in line with that day chart trend. So, you could be watching the 15-minute. Can you see a tight entry? It's quite an aggressive trend line down here at the moment. All right, it's not able to move below yesterday's significant intraday low point here. Is it bottoming to move up from that 62% level? All right, you can watch that to see whether you can see your setup to give yourself a trigger to trade up. in line with that day chart trend at the 62% level of the range at the moment. All right, let's have a look at the pound pairs, pound dollar. Now, definitely worth noting what the monthly position is, just in terms of high tops and bottoms, and it's in an uptrend. Now on the weekly, further higher bottom to a further higher top, we're having a bit of a corrective pullback. So at the moment, my frame of mind is we're having potentially a corrective pullback, but that's not changing the trend, it's just a pullback. And of the weekly range, this is the weekly range. We've had about almost 50% pullback. Now the 62 level, it'd be great if we could pull back to the 62 level, 25.14, 125.14, or close to, because we've got a nice area of support here at 125.44. I've been watching to see if that can get down into that area. At the moment, it's not getting there. What we are seeing is lower tops and bottoms on the daily, so we may still put in another lower top to get down there. But against this day chart downtrend, we know the weekly trend's up, the monthly trend's up. And on the day chart perspective here, we're starting to close back above the weekly top over here, 126.79. So there's 126.79. See on the 4-hour chart, whilst we're dipping below for about 24 hours now, we're holding above. So there's nothing really driving the market. So whether we can get down into this area, this would be a great area to watch if we can get down into this area for an opportunity to get a longer term trade to the upside. Whether or not the market can offer that, maybe the job figures on Friday will see a pullback to that area. But at the moment, you could start to be watching 126.79 over the next couple of days. Does that continually hold as support? Because if it does, we may have already had the dip and we could already be heading upwards. So you can monitor a level on the 15-minute chart. You can see today we're not able to get down. Last time we did, it then got rejected back up. Edwin, you've got a little buy on the pound towards 127.28. Yep, my long term, if I go to the weekly chart, there's an imbalance here that we had last year up at the 130 level in here. So I'm looking for an opportunity to get long and try and trade up to 130 up here. We could well be targeting to fill that area. All right, so in any event at the moment, looking for an opportunity to get long if I can see something that I really like. I would much prefer a deeper pullback, but the market at the moment isn't getting down as deep as I would like, but we never know what will happen come Friday on the job figures. So make your own decision. How deep do you need this to pull back? Of course, over the last 24 hours, we're getting support at 126.79. So at the moment, 126.79 may well be the level to watch for a dip. All right. Pound yen, it's continuing. Well, it is continuing up at the moment. It is massively, as I've discussed before, from the monthly perspective, like I was just showing it on the euro yen, this is beyond the 127 extension. It's not quite as extended as the euro yen, but it's still overextended. And I'm not going to buy at this such high. I need it to pull back. Not suggesting we're getting a change in trend at this stage, but a pullback would be nice. The weekly trend here is overextended. And after the very long move 3 weeks ago, we've still been moving up, but it's getting less. And we're getting a little bit flat like the euro yen here too. Breaking above it, but what is happening as we break above resistance, it's becoming support here. And next major level of resistance is the monthly level at 188.80. So 4-hour chart, you could just monitor. Now we haven't had a week down in weeks, so maybe we can't have a week down. That's the range of last week. 79% level overlaps nicely with day support at 182.15 and 12 here. All right, you can see as we started to move above, became support, still, that would be a great area to watch for support if you're prepared to trade at such high levels. Now, I don't like to trade at such high levels that we're at. I would much prefer a healthy corrective move, but we're continually moving up still with this carry trade scenario. So maybe it won't pull back, and you just have to be prepared to buy a dip at such a high level. Okay. Of course, at some point, if you're doing that, you're going to buy a dip at such a high level and you're going to be wrong because it's at such a high level and it's a correction. So, all right, so watch around about the 182.15.12 level. Nelson, you're asking me about the Aussie yen after the rate decision. Well, really didn't affect it too much. I think the Aussie yen has got a bit of a bid on it in general terms. And Edwin, you're seeing divergence on the 4-hour. Sometimes divergence on the 4-hour when it's in such a strong trend like that. Let's just go to my MACD charts. Is sometimes all you get is a sideways price action for a while, and the MACD just heads back to the 0 level, and then price carries on. So it's definitely struggling at the moment up there. It's going a little bit flat sideways. So going to the pound yen. Yeah, it's definitely showing divergence, you know, higher top there, lower, fractional higher top there and lower. You know, if you're prepared to have a go at the short in the face of that strong trend, that's definitely telling us that the momentum's running out, whether or not we're going to get a massive change. Sometimes we just get divergence and the indicator just comes back to the 0 line. Price action goes kind of flat for a while, and then off we go again. A little bit like here. There was a bit of divergence up here to here. The indicator came back to the 0, and then off we came again. All right. So let's have a look at the Aussie yen and go up to my other charts. And I don't know why this is. All right, just wanted to make sure that wasn't going nuts. All right, Aussie yen. So thoughts on the interest rate decision? Well, from a monthly chart perspective, we are holding at this potential left shoulder. I mean, we've moved up from a lower bottom, but there is the carry trade perspective. And if we're going to keep raising interest rates, potentially moving forward, we could still have further hikes in Australia. That just fuels holding the Aussie to the yen. So that would, you know, I can see structure here holding, but can that structure hold in the face of the interest rate differential? On the weekly chart, this is an uptrend, and we've had, I thought we were going to start to move down towards this area last week, but support tried to break and then it came back support in this area. So we've only managed to have like a one and a half weeks of a dip, and we're already now having a further week up. So it is looking rather bullish at the moment. All right, so daily. Daily's in a downtrend at the moment, but it's got support from this weekly top and these old daily highs here to move back up. Now, there is a potential. You can definitely get a tight entry here, not having to risk too much. Is this day chart is still down. Even though we're having week up, this day chart's still down, and we could be failing here at the 79% level. And to the 4-hour chart, we're holding at last week's high. So I guess we have it a week up, but we're holding at last week's high here at 79% level of that day chart range. I mean, you can get quite a low risk entry here for a trade down if you're looking to the short side. It's not great looking to the long side because you're very close to resistance up here. So it all depends on what side of the market you're on. Interest rate differential, though, long term reflects maybe a move higher. All right, 15-minute. Intraday, apart from the news drop, you can see here support is coming in at the central pivot point, which has been reclaimed. You can see drop came back above the central pivot point, holding at central pivot point. So that's the area of support for the day, really. Forget this drop. It's through here. Central pivot point, if you don't have my charts, at 96.36. So there's actually two sides of the market here. We could be seeing selling pressure from last week's high to move down at the 79% level, or we are simply getting ready to break higher. Ultimately, when you're looking for a setup, is what is your setup and what do you think is the most probability? You never know what's going to work. I can see two probable trades here. We could be filling at the 79% level, or we could be getting support at the central pivot point. Which way do you want to trade? If you're just basing your trading decisions on the day chart, the day trend at the moment remains down, and this move up at the moment is just corrective of the day chart trend that's been starting to fall. But that day chart trend may be very short-lived if the weekly dip was only a week and a half. So it's difficult at the moment, the Aussie yen. Ultimately, you just have to make a decision which way do you want to trade. And trade it, really. You never know which way is going to work. I would be inclined, if I had to trade today and there was nothing else to do, but trade this pair, because we're failing at last week's high at the moment, and the 79% fib there level is there. I would look to the downside as well. What I can see is of that news push down, we failed up here at the 79% coming back up. So maybe there's more bias now, pressure to the downside intraday at the moment, but it could move either way there. So you just have to decide for yourself which side of the market you want to position yourself. Can you see set up and trade? It could, as I say, it could go either way there. My actual bias on the Aussie is to the upside. So if I was contrasting both of these pairs at the moment, I would probably say longer term, this is actually moving up. If I was looking at this for the whole week for the Aussie yen, to the day chart for a moment, that's that weekly top. We tried to move below there last week, and on, I think it was Thursday, we closed below, and I was then Wednesday we closed below. I was anticipating Thursday we could hold there, and we did hold there, but then Friday popped above, Monday up. So really, the better buyers scenario is to look for a pullback to this top. If that can occur this week, 95.73, does that hold? And offer then an entry in a lower time frame to trade up. That would be the better scenario. All right. Not easy, that one at the moment. All right, Aussie dollar. Now, whilst we've been moving down over the last 2 weeks, last month changed the weekly structure to up here in terms of a higher top. So is that potential trend change going to come to fruition and see a higher bottom form here? So on my day chart last week, we held at day support. I was looking for a dip down into this area today, but it never came out. I put it out on Telegram this morning. And, we've had 4 positive days there after hitting support. Structure on the day chart, the trend is down, but structure on the weekly chart, trend is up. This is where it's getting a little bit mixed on a lot of these pairs at the moment, which way to go. My bias is, I think, a possible weekly higher bottom is going to form here for a move up to test this resistance area, up to last month's high, and up to weekly resistance up there. All right. In fact, yeah, weekly resistance there. Now, getting in isn't always as easy because we're 4 days up here, so maybe we need a little bit of a correction. 4-hour trend is turning to up. But the day trend is turning down, is still down. There's still a very minor lower top here. So in my head, I think the weekly trend is starting to maybe want to hold here to move up, but my day chart trend is down. So I have a conflict at the moment. And when I have a conflict, I just do nothing. And my preferred option would be to see price come down to 6604 area this week. Maybe the FMC meeting minutes will give it a drop. Maybe the job figures on Friday will give it a drop. I'm just not at a support level or resistance level that I want to trade at. So I will be hoping for a pullback to support this week if that can occur. All right, so I'm just being patient on the pair. Now, if we had much more of a bullish move up, so we have, if we have much more of a, just working out well, if you're drawing a fib at the moment to the upside on the 4-hour chart, the range is rather small. We've got a 79% pullback there, and this could be continuing up, but I have no entry because I have to trade the pullback, and the pullback's already occurred. So I would need to draw a fib from the current low just formed there. And what I'd like to see to the upside that I could monitor is maybe a move up. And then can I monitor a pullback to 62 to 79 to then look for an opportunity to trade up, because price might not pull as deep down here that I would like. The 4-hour trend may just continue up. So then I'm looking for a pullback. All right. So some of these pairs, they're not easy at the moment. We've got holidays in America today, unlikely to do too much. And as well, we've got the job figures Friday. So I'm having to wait for something to develop, which is just a game of patience, but that's the way it is. All right. So Aussie yen. Yes, my bias, I think, is to the upside, but looking for something to set up. New Zealand yen. I didn't think a month ago, back in May, we had a nice rejection there on the monthly. And I was thinking maybe we're going to come down to the bottom of the range, but of course, things have changed in a month. We're above that high now. Next monthly resistance is over here at 89.68. Now, the Aussie yen and the New Zealand yen tend to go the same direction. And this is definitely holding to a trend and breaking above those monthly highs where we were failing at. So that's getting very bullish at the moment. So that's why I'm a little bit reluctant to go short on the Aussie yen now that we couldn't hold below weekly broken support, because both tend to follow the same direction. And this is going quite nicely north. So the Aussie yen could well follow this. Weekly is in an uptrend, and over the last 2 weeks, we closed below this monthly resistance. So that was negative, but yes, last week we closed above. And that's been now the factor that's starting to make this move up, because we've had a week closing above. So the high bottom to high top forming, looking for a dip. Draw your fib across that range, because if I draw it across the previous range, you'll see we're at the 127, getting close to the 127 extension. You can actually draw it from that low, or you could draw it from that low. In any event, whichever one you use, we're heading towards a 127 extension. So that means that we're getting to the profit-taking area. And if you want to be a buyer on this pair, you want to be buying in the buy zone according to the fib tool. And if I draw it at the most recent range forming, the 62 to 79% area is the buy zone. So I'll have to wait really for a pullback. A lot of these pairs that at the moment you're waiting for something to set up. Don't get caught with the fear of missing out and be buying the top of a move and then it pulls back on you. All right, so you can monitor that range on the 4-hour charts. 62 level is close to the monthly broken high, 88.16, 62 is at 88.25. That will be a great level if we could pull back. May only pull back to the old daily top at 88.55. So I would monitor that range. If it keeps moving up, I'll just keep dragging the fib up at the moment, monitoring for pullback. New Zealand dollar. This is probably going north. Whilst the weekly trend is down, lower bottom, lower top, this looks like it's very strong support from weekly support 61.10, and this is weekly support at 60.84. Positive week last week, so we could be forming a higher bottom here, or we're just going to get mixed. Day's still down though. We could simply come up to revisit the high of last week, 6,200, daily resistance at 62.03 from over here. You can see we failed here, came below, rejected, fell down. Last week we couldn't quite get there. We may well simply hold at 6,200 to 62.03 and then trade back down into the support area down here. So I would monitor the top of that range at the moment. If you still have the bias of the fact that you don't think the weekly trend is going to change, I would be monitoring. That's last week's range. And we're above the 79 already, but I would be monitoring up here. Last week's high, daily resistance. All right, let's say 6,200 to 62.03. As well, there is a bigger range here, and I'm guessing there's a 79% level in that area too. There is. So this is the area to watch. If you want to look for a short, that's the area to look for a short. A buy, you would need to wait for some form of pullback. Okay, so this pair is getting a bit difficult. It's just very range bound. We've got the interest rate decision coming out next Wednesday or Thursday next week. Next Wednesday doesn't tell us what they're expecting in terms of a hike, so we will have to wait to see what starts coming here on the forecast. I think there was some commentary last time, 6 weeks ago, that maybe they were getting to the end of the cycle, anticipating they may cut rates by the end of the year, but that's a long way off. So the market may well just stay range bound while it waits for that event to come out and whatever the statement is. So be aware of what the news is, a week ahead. We do have that interest rate decision. So this may well just stay in the range that it's been forming. And that range is really pretty much from the 6,200 level down to the 6,100 level, or a little bit below. So seeing further failure at the 62, 62.03 level, you may see a short from that area. All right. Let's drop it to the 15. When we could get up there today, depending on what price wants to do, but it is a slow trading day. So it's very unlikely that price today, if we got up there, will want to move above that level because of the holiday. So if we did get up there today, you might see a nice opportunity to trade down on your setup if you're looking for a short. All right, dollar Canadian. So this low just here is actually a monthly low. This is a weekly low that we moved back above. And we've been for the last 2 weeks, even this week down. Once we move below that low, we're testing it and holding. I've been inclined because we've had such a large move down that we could see if US dollar strength prevails, a rally to the 62 or the 79 on that weekly range. All right. So if we do clearly pop above, I'm going to go to the daily chart, this monthly low over here that we've moved below, if we clearly pop above that level, we're probably coming up to 62.79. But at the moment, you can see here that the market, it's actually trapped between monthly resistance, weekly support. And we have the Canadian job figures on Friday. I'm sure there's lots of July 4th celebrations in Canada as well. So this probably doesn't go too far today. But on the day chart structure here, we've moved up to a higher top. We may be forming a higher bottom here to trade this way with the start of an unfolding uptrend there on the day chart. But it's a difficult area. If you move to just your 15-minute chart, there's only From weekly support to monthly resistance, there's only 38 pips, so it's a very difficult area. With that day chart trend turning to up with a higher top last week and being overextended on the weekly, looking at weekly support here to hold, watching this 132.23 level. If that holds and you see a setup to buy, if you can get long tight to this area, then get your risk out for a retest of 132.62. And then if it breaks, it's happy days, because it's definitely overextended on the weekly. And I think the weekly structure is this. We're getting into a rally mode to the 62.79 level. So looking for an opportunity to get long may well be the directional play at the moment. Clearly though, if we suddenly just drop below 132.23, it can't hold, then that long plays off the cards. And as well, the long plays off the cards if we once more come up to 132.62. If you're long, you need to be at risk-free by that point, because if this fails and you see a clear significant shorting opportunity here, your long position is not going to look very good. So it's in a very tight, approximate 40 pip range there at the moment between monthly resistance and weekly support. Dollar franc's not too much better either. Could be even worse potentially than the dollar CAD. Weekly support here, 89.01, monthly support at 89.26, and daily resistance at 90.02. So approximately there's a 100 pip range there. Which way is it going? You just trade the range really at the moment. It's in a range. You look from 90.02 to last week's high. Last week's high is 90.16 for opportunity to trade down. We'll look between monthly and weekly support. 89.26 down 89.01 for a reversal back up. All right, trade the outskirts. And if it's in a range, I don't trade the middle. Try not to get involved in the middle where it can just chop either way. Look to where the sellers are sitting or the buyers are sitting. Dollar yen. I've got a number of lines on here, but I'll tell you what the levels are. 145.89 is a monthly high from back in time. 147, go to the weekly chart. Actually, I need to correct myself. 147.68, the highest line, is this monthly high over here, 147.68. Are we heading towards there long term? Weekly, the next line down is this top over here. And then the current level that we're at is this daily resistance here. And then we've got day support here. That's actually monthly support, 142.17. And then 141.53. I think that's another monthly. There's two monthly highs back in time from a good 20 years ago. And then a weekly support down here. Now, overextended, but still holding its uptrend. So carry trade prevails. I would just be watching at the moment for a pullback. Can we pull back to this broken daily resistance level from over here? Does that offer support this week? To the 4-hour chart. This is the range of last week. So the 143.52, my day support level. Just want to double check. Yeah. Overlaps quite closely with the 79% fib at 143.39. So 143.52 down to 143.37 would be an area to watch for a dip. All right, try not to get caught buying at the top of the highs because you got this fear of missing out. Look for a dip. We did have a little bit of, I think, jawboning last week from the Bank of Japan, maybe saying this is a little bit too high. And I saw a 50 or 60 pip very sudden dip. So, getting caught at the top of moves and then we get some spiky dips with a bit of jawboning from the Bank of Japan won't make you happy at all. So if you're prepared to still be a buyer at such high levels, look for a dip. Don't have this fear of missing out. So looking for a dip down to 143.52 to 143.37. And then what does price do there? Can it hold? Turn around, can you see set up to buy? All right, final one, let's have a look at gold. Let's just go tap down. We, of course, have got this potential double top. Sorry, triple top, I should correct myself, on the monthly and weekly charts here. In terms of the major swings on the weekly, potentially this is still in an uptrend. There's a major swing there and a major high there. And have we failed for the double top and are we moving down? That's how I've got my fib drawn at the moment from that larger perspective. But there's also the perspective of there's a weekly range here that is a 62% level that we've just pulled back to. And are we getting support on this weekly top over here? So we're actually sitting on weekly support and failing at weekly resistance this high over here. All right, at the moment, I'm looking maybe that the triple top could run to fruition. So I'm just going to put my fib back. But this could go either way at the moment. This is definitely an area of support to the daily. The big swings, this is still in a downtrend. This is just correcting back up. So I will be monitoring this range. Watch the 62 to 79% area for rally and failure. You can monitor that on the 4-hour chart. So put it watching 62 or a move up to 79. Could even come back up to retest 1959 resistance, but in terms of the day chart trend, it is down, but we're correcting up at the moment. So watch for a fib retracement, and then can you start to see price turn around at one of those fib levels? Back in line with the we have been declining now for 2 months. Might have to correct myself. Is it 2 months or 3 months? Two months at the moment. All right, 2 month decline at the moment. That day trend is down. So I'm onto that 4-hour chart for a failure point. All right, so as I said, we've got the 4th of July today. It's going to be quiet. Might just drop back to the euro dollar to see what that's doing. It's not doing too much. It's just sitting around the 109 level. Pound dollar is sitting around the 127 level, not doing too much at all. What's that Aussie doing? Aussies, after that news drop, it's got a bid to it. And the Aussie yen, it's not wanting to drop. I think it's got more of a bid to it than a sell to it at the moment. All right, so get your levels set. Just back to the news front. We could see quite a quiet range-bound week until we see the FOMC meeting minutes coming out. What we definitely have at the moment is a news environment where the market is driven by central banks and their interest rate decisions, commentary. So the market could well be rather range bound until we know. We move back into this week. We have early Thursday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, FOMC meeting minutes. So something might come out of that may be US dollar strength or weakness and start to drive the market. So I'm sure many traders at the moment are having a holiday in the US. They may have another day on Wednesday waiting for the meeting minutes to come out the next day. So I would expect it to be rather range bound through this period until we have something to drive the market. And then we've got the job figures on Friday. So as well, I know we're in July, but August is often a very range bound month, depending on what is driving the market because of the holiday season in the Northern Hemisphere. And summer's July, August. Of course, in the UK at the moment, we've got the Ashes, Wimbledon. It's all holiday season over there. So plenty of people taking holidays. So July, August can start to be a little bit range bound. So it's worth just understanding that. If the market's getting range bound, you can't trade it like it's a trend. You have to trade it like it's a range and then trade the outskirts. All right. So if you start to see that kind of price action through the month, you may have to adapt. All right. So on the webinar front, about to conclude, but tomorrow I'm going to go review last month's trading, what patterns set up, what kind of environment did we actually have by the end of the month, what can you learn from it as we head into this month's trading. More analysis on Thursday, and also on Thursday after the live market analysis at 7. We've got the forex quick start, where if you are struggling or if you're brand new to trading, it's a very quick way of being able to understand the trend and see an entry point using a couple of indicators on the 1 hour chart, trading in line with the day chart trend. So if that sparks an interest for you, or you need a strategy and you don't have a direct strategy to trade at the moment, then why don't you come along to that at 8 o'clock on Thursday. And somebody will be there to catch up with you afterwards to help you set it up if you're not able to set it up yourself. And then you can start to look at that strategy. All right, any final questions before I conclude? Thanks, Slav Way, thank you. All right, I'm going to conclude there. Hopefully you got some good weather where you are. I'm on the Gold Coast at the moment. It is actually pouring down. Cats and dogs. So wherever you are, hopefully you got some nice weather. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, hopefully you got some nice summer weather going on. Here we're in the winter depths at the moment. But Adrian, you're telling me it's kind of sunny there, except for the cricket, hey? Let's not talk about that stumping out yesterday. It's all over the news at the moment, isn't it? All right. Thanks, everybody. If you have the time, look forward to seeing you through the course of the week. Other than that, have a great trading week, wherever you are. Thank you.